They usually, like I said, exit with the existing queen. That's a normal thing. And like I say, they're usually about 3 to 5 pounds, somewhere in that area. Normally, a swarm will collect pretty nearby where the parent colony is, wherever it is. They won't, almost always, they'll collect somewhere pretty near that, on something that's convenient, on a bush, or on a post, or various and sundry places. And they may get in some places that are pretty delicate about trying to get them off. If they land in a tree, do they land in the mistletoe and collect in the mistletoe bud? That's a little difficult to get them out. But you can. Do they land on a small limb out there about this tall, so you can just shake them off there into the bottom? Now, those are nice. They're easy. That works really well. But are they 15, 20 feet up? Do you have equipment to do that safely? That's another one of those things. Be safe. You know, whatever you do, be safe about capturing the swarm. No swarm is worth getting injured or injuring someone else or causing harm. One of the things about preparing for a swarm, without some of the gear, a lot of times bees will get in mass around a limb or something, a lot of little twigs, projections in the way, and some little hand pruners are real handy about clipping off some of those things out of the way so you can shake the swarm and get it down, or maybe even cutting the limb off and then taking the whole thing down to get the swarm. But those are pretty handy. And another thing that might be in the gearbox is a little atomizer. I just use water, a little atomizer thing to spray water, not sugar water particularly. Just get them wet on the outside. It'll help keep them from flying stuff. Another thing is a little spray thing that atomizes some alcohol. Once you get the bees off their location, a lot of the bees, they smell back to where the bees have been. They'll recollect up there. If you get them off, then spray around that area with some alcohol, so 70% isopropyl or 50%, either one works well. And that odor deters those bees from going back up there. Don't spray your bees if you want to keep them alive with alcohol. that don't work too well. It will kill bees, but if you get them off to keep them from going back to that, collecting back in that area, alcohol is a good thing to use for that. Also, it helps get wax and appropriate stuff off your gloves and hat if you want to do that. Okay, we pretty well covered about trying to that they're generally docile and to get them into a box, and then transfer them into a hive box. But what kind of problems do you have when you? What sort of problem do you have when you collect a swarm? No?
Keeping them.
Keeping them in the box. Yeah.
I pour them in the top of the box, they go out the bottom as fast as I pour them in the top. I stop them up in the bottom down there, and they go through shock and dive.
Well,
They'll sit there, wait till I open them up, and then take off, and they just don't like me.
that'll emphasize some of the problems. Some of the problems nowadays is,
Maybe harm the queen, hurt the queen.
well, you have to be careful. Sometimes you just can't find her. She's in there, and you handle them, as gently as you can. But, you're gonna do some shaking and bumping and things, and usually she's protected pretty well. But don't mash her. That'll sure spoil a good swarm. But like Mel says, I think it's getting more common that it's not as easy to get bees to adapt to a hive body as it used to be. They want to leave. Bill, I had one time that didn't bother to go at the bottom. I put them in the top, and they didn't even go in the hive. They just went to a tree. And they did that twice, and then, they're not gonna stay, so leave them alone. The after swarms are probably even more difficult to keep. They usually have unmated or virgin queens. And a lot of times they like to hang out, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 days while their queen is getting mated. And you try to have them, and they're not gonna like that very well. And sometimes even other swarms, primary swarms may hang there from anywhere, 10, 15 minutes to several days, and somewhere in between that. Generally, bees will issue a swarm between 10 o'clock in the morning and 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And a good bit of the time, they're gone from there by the end of the day. But sometimes they're not, and they stay there longer. And so that you just never know how long a swarm's gonna be there. I have witnessed once or twice that bees came out of the box in a swarm. They never bothered to light anywhere. They just went. And I think in those cases, my opinion, that the scout bees had already located a place that they had decided on, that convinced the hive that they'd already found a place to go, and so they went. A lot of times, that's why they hang on a location right there near. They get collected, and then the scout bees are looking for a cavity to go into, and when they agree on them, it's kind of a political thing. One scout bee said, no, this is a better place, and one said, no, this is, and they find those locations, and finally they agree, enough of them agree, and they'll just up and go. They'll be gone as fast as they got there. And that's one of the disappointing things about going after a swarm is they tell you about this swarm, and you're all prepared, ready to go, and about the time you get there, just before the bees are gone, and to just watch them leave when you just got there, it's kind of disappointing.